Spring is here, and that means it's time for all things new. But don't forget to freshen up your creative ventures while you're at it. When's the last time you had a new headshot? Does that logo need some TLC? Or maybe with all the new interest in your business, you need a website. DiffWorks can partner with you for all of those solutions and more. Their multimedia approach to business meets creators where they are, offering customizable marketing and branding solutions that focus on where you're headed next. So while you're getting ready to do some spring cleaning, make sure you add your business to that list. Schedule a consultation with DiffWorks today at staydiff.com. I'm Kahja Elliott, and I'm a food enthusiast. Bronx born and raised, ATL made, Bay Area becoming. And I talk to people about how they create community through food in the Bay and beyond. Welcome to the As Told By podcast. Welcome. We are back with season 6 of the As Told By podcast. I'm Kahja Elliott, the host of the As Told By podcast. I'm so glad to be back and recording new episodes for season 6. And you know that I have to start the season off with a bang. At the time of recording, I am sitting in Charleston, South Carolina, one of my favorite cities. And I am here for the second consecutive year at the Charleston Wine and Food Festival and talking to Alyssa Maute, who is the executive director of the festival. Hi, Alyssa.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad to be here. Again.
Thrilled. Charleston's never a bad idea.
Never. Let me just introduce and read your bio a little bit. As I stated, you're the executive director of Charleston's Wine and Food Festival. You're a native Charlestonian. This festival was founded in 2005 and is a multi-day wine and food festival created to promote and elevate Charleston's brand as a culinary destination, infusing homegrown flavor with top chefs, winemakers, authors, storytellers, artisans, experts, and food enthusiasts for 5 days every year in March.
Yep.
Yes. This falls on my birthday week every year.
It's the best birthday present we could ever throw for you.
Listen, 2 consecutive years in a row, I think I'm going to be a regular. Well, thanks for kicking off this season of the pod with me.
Thank you.
All right. So I want to start and get like a little bit of information about who you are. So I mentioned that you are a hometown Carolina girl. You're a Clemson grad. And
Go Tigers.
Yes. My family would love that. Share a bit about your history with me. So I know you're originally from James Island. So for people who don't know, what is that? What was your upbringing like there? And what kind of food family do you come from?
Oh, I love all these questions. Okay, so yes, I'm from Charleston, James Island. If you're familiar with the geography of Charleston, it's just over the bridge. It is a local island community. It's seen a lot of development in the past couple years, but growing up, I mean, I think it's the most magical place on earth. Surrounded by the water, super close to the beach. And I mean, my upbringing, I feel like I've been on the water since I can remember. And I actually learned to drive a boat before I could drive a car.
Okay.
I was the oldest of 3 daughters. So my dad, you know, he had to do what he could do with that. And luckily for him, I took an interest in, you know, boating and fishing. And my family has a long history of being here. And my mom's side of the family has been here for a really long time. So we have a really big family here. My dad ended up moving here when he was in high school by way of his stepdad in the Navy. So, I mean, growing up, every Sunday, there was Sunday dinner at my grandmother's house. Her name's Mama. We call her Mama. Mm-hmm. And it was for years, I can remember after church, everybody went to dinner, not supper, dinner.
Dinner. What is the difference?
One's at 1 p.m. and one's in the evening.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Listen, I feel like I'm enlightened because I didn't know that until just now.
So it's an afternoon, like big afternoon meal. And, you know, amazing Southern cooking, fried chicken and mac and cheese, and her red rice and sausage is like, I can't figure out how to recreate it. Anytime I ask her, like, how do you make this? It's always, oh, I don't know. I just do a little of this and do a little of that. And I feel like that's the best cooking, you know?
That's the way of Southern cooks. Nothing is written down. We're just like moving with vibes and ancestral memories.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just, you feel it, you taste it, you smell it. So I've gotten pretty good at a couple of her recipes, but it's still not as good as hers. But yeah, so communal family meals, and I've always really loved and had a respect for the waterways and the geography of Charleston. Where, yes, Charleston proper is like a bustling city, but within like 15 or 20 minutes, you can be on a farm and getting like locally grown produce, fantastic, local meats from here, and tons of really great seafood. So
I had the opportunity to visit a farm last year when I was here. Was it Fields Farm?
Joseph Fields.
Joseph Fields.
Yeah.
Yes. So I got to drive out and kind of John's Island, I think that was, and have that experience. So I love the layout of the city, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more as it relates to the festival. But I hear you when you're like, you can go in any direction and kind of be in a little bit of a different landscape of geography.
100%.
Yeah. Well, your food background led you here to be working with Charleston Wine and Food. I know that you started originally as the marketing and comms director, but that you come from an events background, I feel like I read. So coming from an events background to now being the ED of this festival, did you ever, moving from one to another, like question, oh God, this is a huge festival. It has a lot of eyes on it. Like, am I going to be able to pull this off? Or did you feel like your background in marketing and comms kind of walked you into the things that were critical for making this a success?
I say yes to both. I feel like I have such a passion for this community, and because I'm from here and grew up here, I feel like I have a big responsibility to make sure that our community is put first and foremost and presented in a way that is authentic to what it's like here. So I feel like that passion and responsibility really fuels my my wantingness to make sure that we do a really good job and that our community is proud of what we create. The communications background, it definitely helps a lot. You want to know a secret?
Yes.
I wanted to be a nurse.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. How did we get from nurse to marketing and comms?
I wanted to be a nurse because I love kids and I love people. I like connecting with other people's stories. And I wanted to do something that I felt like I was making a difference and that I was helping. So I ended up working at a local hospital and doing like an intensive internship to make sure this is what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I hated it. I was way too empathetic, and I carried every single person's stories home with me. And I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm the right person for this job.
This will consume me.
This will consume me. And it made me have a lot of respect for nurses, of like how much compassion they can show others and not absorb those hardships on themselves. So I ended up going into communications. I've always loved the spoken word and written word. And I felt like maybe I could still make that impact through telling other people's stories or helping them tell stories.
Yeah.
And that's how I found my way into the events industry. And I feel like events it's one of the most like weirdly intimate experiences in such a gigantic group of people. I feel like you feel so connected to other people when you're in an event. And Charleston Wine and Food offers the opportunity to tell stories. So when that opportunity came, I was like, wow, I get to do all these things that I love and to share about my hometown. Like that just seemed like a pinch me moment.
Yeah. It's events can be a scary thing. I've dabbled, and I do mean the most dabblingest of the dabble, very high level, but events takes a lot of skills to pull things together.
It does.
Yeah. It's no light work.
You can't be lukewarm about events. You can't be like, I kind of liked it. It's either you thrive in it and you're great at on the fly problem solving, pivoting all the details, or you're like, maybe this was a great experience, but I don't ever want to do this again.
You have the nurse experience.
Yeah. You're like, no, pivot.
Wow. Okay. So I said that this was my second time coming. So I was here in 2024 and
my experience is so interesting because my experience coming into that, when I thought of Charleston, is you think Southern and genteel and porches and, you know, all the things kind of laid back. And I got here and I have to say I was actually caught off guard by how cityfied Charleston also felt. I remember going to specifically going to the vinyl party. That was my first event. And shout out to the people at Ford's Gin because they know how to throw a party. I hope are they doing this year?
Yes.
Oh,
tonight.
I know. I'm ready.
It's tonight.
I mean, I got to go somewhere and buy an outfit. I think what I bought I don't want to wear, so I will be there tonight.
Okay.
But I remember coming into the party and I realized after maybe about 30 minutes of being there that the DJ was actually Jerobi White of Tribe Called Quest. And I was like a lifelong fan of them as a New Yorker, you know, and a hip hop lover. And I was like, I didn't know Charleston had it like that. I was so excited. And so when it was time for the dates to be announced, first of all, let me take a step back. When I came the first year, I didn't understand why you all were releasing the schedule 3 days in advance, and I wasn't really paying attention. So I just went online when it was time to buy tickets, and I had the experience, like if you've ever been an undergrad and you're trying to register for classes real time and you didn't lay out the schedule, things were selling out in real time. And I was like, oh, this is why they opened the schedule, because you kind of got to get together where you want to be in the week of all these simultaneous events so that on ticket buying day you can just click and go through. But I had so much fun, an amazing time here last year. Y'all did a great job.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, Jerobi White's back this year. He's going to be at the day party. Yep. So we're excited. And yeah, Charleston has the downtown area for sure is really grown, and you do have some of that like New York feel in some of the bars and restaurants, and part of that is the kind of melting pot of the city as the culinary brand has developed and grown. You've had people from other cities that are like, you know what, Charleston could be a great spot for me to open my restaurant. Maybe they're like shuttering a restaurant in LA or New York and coming to Charleston to open, or maybe it's the second location of something that already exists. But I do feel like there's definitely a through line, and at least in the food community here downtown between New York and Charleston. But the good stuff, I feel like the good stuff, the like locally owned and operated multi-generational family-owned restaurants, you still have that on the peninsula, but a lot of that's nestled in the Sea Islands. So like what you were saying on John's Island and James Island are those like hole-in-the-wall institutions that have like fed those communities for years and years and years.
Yeah. So much history here.
There is.
So much history, and that's part of the allure too. You've got that city element, but I feel like around every corner, just as I was walking around yesterday, you know, I would see like placards on buildings and things, and just kind of Googling what the history of some of those things were. So I love the confluence of the two elements here. Yeah, I was not going to miss this. When ticket sales opened for this year's festival, I was in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Can I tell you, I had an alarm on my phone that was like, stop what you are doing in Thailand and purchase your tickets. I didn't want to get shut out of anything. So this was like must see.
That's dedication. That's serious dedication.
That speaks to the fact that I had a really good time. So this is the 20th year of the festival.
Well, 2026 will be the 20th festival.
Oh, the 20th festival.
Yeah, we had to, because of COVID, we had to cancel one. So we're a little off.
A little off in the count.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, almost 20th festival.
Yeah.
Tell me about the origins and the why of how the festival got started. And also, was it always citywide like it is now, or how did this get started?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it was founded in 2005 by a group of community leaders that felt like Charleston had something special to share from a culinary perspective. And so they founded this nonprofit organization and created the festival in order to not just elevate and celebrate what we have here, but to court people to come and visit, experience the food ways, and then continue to add to that fabric. So the festival is intentionally placed in March. It always happens the first full weekend of March. At that time, that was called shoulder season. So it wasn't our like main tourist season of Charleston. And like many other cities, tourism is a through line for our local economy here.
Yes.
So many people and local businesses depend on visitors coming in and eating in restaurants and shopping locally and dining in hotels. So this event was strategically placed to continue to draw a group of people to come here and help boost our economy during this time. So since the inception of Charleston Wine and Food, we've done over $170 million for the community, for the economy. So every year we do a survey through the College of Charleston's Office of Tourism Analysis to measure the impact on, the local region from the festival in those 5 days. And the largest reported economic impact in 5 days was $32 million, which was generated for the city. So it's a huge tourism and local economy booster. And as the festival has grown, Charleston's culinary brand has grown. And even when you're mentioning the Forged Gin after party last year, those restaurants didn't even exist 20 years ago.
Okay.
Like the kind of mecca of downtown dining was really East Bay, Market, Broad. And then maybe a little bit King. And then as the city has grown, the neighborhood that we're sitting in right now for the office, like even when we moved in here about 7 years ago, none of these really great local restaurants that are around us were here.
Okay.
So a lot of growth in the food community here.
Okay. And just growth in the way people experience food. I mean, when I come here, of course, I'm looking to have the experience of a meat plus 3.
Yes.
But I'm also looking to have experiences like I had last night. I had dinner at Ma'am Saab. Shout out to Angel, who's also a part of the festival.
Yes.
But she recommended, let's go here for dinner. And, it was like Indian influenced. Not what people may initially think when you come to the South, but not just that restaurant, but so many of which are on my list to try to get to this week. But just so much eclectic representation of food here.
That's something that's definitely changed. Of somebody who's grown up here, and really the last 10 years, the international influences that we've had on the city has really started to mimic, like you mentioned, like food cities like New York and LA, where you have a really diverse representation. Yeah. Gullah Geechee cuisine is like a cornerstone of Southern cooking and Southern food here. And that is always something, the meat and threes, whole animal cooking, all the ingredients and the spices that we have here. But things like really fantastic Hispanic restaurants, Colombian, Brazilian, we've got Vietnamese, you mentioned Pakistani, we have an African restaurant on the peninsula. Like the diversification and the cultures and types of cuisines has really grown over the last 10 years.
Yeah, love it. Eclectic. Soup to nuts. Come get your meat plus 3, of course. But come get some other things too.
Do you have a go-to meat plus 3? Have you established one yet?
I established one last year, and they're temporarily closed. I saw Gilly Seafood.
Oh, yes.
That was the soul. First of all, I had never had a soul roll. That soul roll has been on my mind since last year. And then I saw that they're not open at the current time. So I'm going to have to find somewhere while I'm here to get a soul roll.
Well, there's a couple spots, Bertha's.
Okay. In North Charleston.
Fantastic.
Okay.
So good. We've got Workman's Cafe, which is on James Island, and that's been there for Angie Bellinger has started that. Fantastic. Dave's Carryout Seafood, not meat and 3, but also equally like
That's
just
good.
an iconic establishment here downtown on the peninsula. Hannibal's.
I've heard of Hannibal's. Haven't been.
The crab rice will change your life.
Okay. I'm going to rewind this and listen. Look, now I'm going to tell you a secret. And
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm developing like a fish and seafood allergy or aversion. Sometimes it doesn't hit me right. Sometimes it does. But I think I'm going to test that theory this week. So
Maybe have some Benadryl.
Yeah. If you see me like marching around with Benadryl, you know what it is.
Oh my gosh.
Let's talk a bit about the nuts and bolts of designing something to this scale. So there are so many logistical considerations. I remember last year as the weather was doing what weather does and, you know, the rejiggering of things in real time. How are you keeping some kind of, you know, lexus of control over what is happening when you're dealing with elements that are happening in real time, things that are beyond your control? What does the high level process look like for this?
Oh, goodness. It's a lot. Event professionals are like problem solving ninjas. Quick on your feet, make quick decisions. You have to be able to prioritize in real time what's critical, what's nice to have, what's something that doesn't need to happen, and the show's still going to go on. Because any event, whether it's a culinary event, a music festival, or any other sort of event, there will always be things that do not go to plan. That's just how events roll. And for us, you know, making sure that we have a really solid plan A, and I will say, given last year, like making sure we have really solid contingency plans, because we're sitting here and the weather's doing what the weather's doing right now in Charleston. I mean, we're under a tornado watch.
Yes.
But we made the call early to make sure that our opening night party tonight is indoors. The vinyl party's indoors. Luckily, this is going to pass through pretty quickly. So tonight's activities will be unnoticed. But I mean, before we got on here, I was telling you that, you know, I was making sure the tinting company had everything kind of like locked down. Nothing was going to blow away. I mean, we take over so many sites throughout the area. Some are indoors, some are outdoors. And we work with probably about 100 to 125 like other locally owned and operated businesses to pull this thing off.
Yeah, that's another thing that I remember thinking last year is the scale as far as this is neighborhood to neighborhood, area to area. And I think Charleston is a good city to do this. I found myself thinking, because this model work the same way in other places? This is a fairly easy city to navigate. Downtown is not crazy. There is actually parking available. And it's not like 35 minutes to get from one side to the other. It might be like 15, 20 minutes, you know, give or take with some traffic at best. So I think as a person visiting the festival, the logistics of this felt like it worked very easily. I would wake up in the morning and I would have a lovely email reminding me of the things that I had a ticket for today. I would wake up and have an email telling me this moved because of weather. We're not going to be here. We're going to be there. Here's your ticket. So I didn't have to go scrolling back. It just felt like all the efficiencies, you all had thought of them in advance. I was like, this feels pretty damn organized, huh?
Well, that feels really good. We have a small but mighty team. So the nonprofit employs about 9 people year round. So it's small. And we produce 90 events in 5 days for close to 30,000 people. On top of that, we have, you know, media and influencers like yourself that we have come in, that we assist, you know, with y'all's schedules and ticketing. We have, or coordinating, you know, media interviews. We have over 400 chef and beverage professionals that participate, over 150 volunteers. I mentioned the vendors. So, I mean, it literally is a village of people that like participate and help to pull this thing off.
Yeah. Even, you know, the local colleges are involved. So talk a little bit about the role of Trident Tech. I took a class there last year. It was hands-on. It was with, shout out to Rima Seal out in Oakland. I had to support my Bay Area people. But talk about the influence of the culinary program here at the local college and how that's leveraged as part of the festival.
Yeah, so that's been a cornerstone. At one point, the festival headquarters literally were at Trident Technical College, culinary campus. So there's a long time relationship, I should say, partnership where we sponsor scholarships for that institution. That was established early on, that the festival is a platform, yes, to celebrate, to showcase, to tell our stories, you know, to the world, and to draw in visitors to create an economic injection, but we want to make sure that there's a longevity with that. It's not just 5 days. So how are we continuing to regenerate and restore? And so we have several key partnerships where we do scholarships, where we involve culinary students at the college and collegiate level, and then also hospitality and events students at the collegiate level at the College of Charleston to participate with us. So they get exposure to the industry, on the job training, mentorship opportunities. And you mentioned Angel. She has really helped us grow our high school program. So 3 years ago, we piloted a high school program, super successful. We have now grown that to 9 high schools and over 1,000 students that participate in our Culinary High School Scholars Program. And really the goal of that is to target talent that's already here locally, hopefully inspire these students to want to go into the industry, to continue to add to that local economy that we have here. And use the festival as a way to showcase a breadth of opportunities. It doesn't mean you have to be your chef, or it doesn't mean you have to be an event planner. I mean, I'm a communications professional and I'm in this industry. So just really kind of showing all the different industries that touch hospitality here and how much opportunity there is.
Yeah.
So it's bigger than 5 days.
It is. Let me tell you, the impact definitely went on for me. At that event I went to at the college, one of the students had a rum caramel sauce that she makes. And she had a little jar that she was letting people sample. Do you know I was placing subsequent orders to have that shipped to Oakland from that woman? And she was sending it to me, and I was home loving it.
That's amazing.
Yes. Robin was her name. Shout out, Robin. If you hear this, you might get a call from me while I'm here. Look, I may need some more. Love it.
I love that.
You have such an amazing team. I'm here at your offices right now. It clearly is a buzzing hub of activity as, things are getting underway. What has it meant working with this team to produce this event?
I absolutely love this team. They inspire me to do what we do, and it's in the trials and the tribulations that we're tested, right? That's where your character is tested, and your passion and how much you love this community. And every single person here comes to work every day because they love this community and they care about the work we're doing. And that's inspiring. It's going to get me all choked up. So I'm going to try not to get choked up on air with you, but they truly do. It is a passion project. It is a labor of love. And for people who have been in, I would say the culinary industry and also events, it's really hard work and long hours, and people who go into hospitality and service have this something in them that they care so much for other people that the service of others is gratification to themselves. And I think that's such a special thing, especially I feel like in a world where I feel like it's becoming more and more insular and more about what's in this for me, and to get to work in an industry where you get to care and think about others is a gift.
Yeah. So much the service of it shows up, because for someone like me, I'm just here going from experience to experience, right? And then you leave and you go home. But what you remember is the experience you have, and the service is tied so much to that. You show up at events, the volunteers are there, they have on their colored shirts, so they're so easily identifiable, and they're smiling and they're friendly and they're informative, and it just makes the service of that makes for an amazing experience. I have to say. Eventually these days will go by. We will get to the finale. And once that event ends and, you've gone home, and it's just like, of course there's the postmortem. But once that event is done and like the rush of it is done, how do you look at a festival run and say, okay, that was a success?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think we measure success through many different ways. I think first and foremost is, did we deliver the experience that we hoped we would deliver to our guests? Are we proud of what we created? I always, again, back to this notion of service, events can be fast paced and high stressed. And in high stress times, sometimes people's ability to stay, even keeled is tested. And so a measure of success for my team is always, did you remain kind? you know, how you treated the people around you. Like, you can't, sometimes we're in situations we can't control, but you can control how you react, and you can control how you know, how you care for others. I think that's a measure of success. Obviously, we look at, you know, the impact that we created for the community. That's something we always look at. And I mean, as soon as one festival ends, we're already have our eyes set on the next one of what else can we share? What else are we going to create?
Yeah, that you actually answered my next question. Is like, what is the time in between festival ending, planning for next festival? But I'm sure it sounds like it's almost instantaneous.
It's pretty instantaneous. I mean, we do have wrap up, and last summer we launched a collection of events called the Summer Sizzle.
I saw that.
And we're doing it again this year.
Okay.
So that's going to launch mid-April. So we already have a collection of about 12 events that will happen between end of May into June and July. So people won't have to wait too terribly long till they get like another little taste of Charleston wine and food. And then next year, with it being the 20th anniversary, we're gonna show out.
Uh-oh.
We're gonna show out.
Put a calendar hold for 2026. You know, of course, we cannot talk about Charleston Wine and Food Festival without talking about Natalie Dupree, who passed earlier this year, and her contributions to platforming Southern food through Southern Foodways Alliance and International Association of Culinary Professionals, but also as the chairman of the founding chairman of this festival. In carrying the festival forward, what of her legacy do you want to make sure is always front and center?
Her focus on community. She was a huge proponent of getting this off the ground. And the founding executive director, her name's Angel Postel Holmes, she was very close with Natalie. And Natalie was very much a motivator for her and for the team. And she was the one who always had that question. You know, when you're like, okay, should we do this? And the question in return was always, is it good for the community? So that notion of making sure that the mission was always so front and center, celebrating this community, giving back to this community. I feel like that's something that each and every single person that works on this team very much carries with them. And we use that gut check all the time. You know, do we need to be doing X, Y, or Z? Is it good for our community? If the answer is yes, then, you know, we entertain it.
Got it. Okay. Back in September 2023, you did an interview with Stephanie Burt for the Southern Fork. Yeah. This was a lot of fun.
It was so much fun. I love Stephanie.
Yes. And in that conversation, you defined the perfect guest for this festival as someone who's adventurous and open-minded. You know, you referenced wanting people to feel like they belong. So if someone is like me coming here solo to experience this city and this festival, what are maybe one or two ways that you think they can make sure that that's the experience they have?
Oh, that's a great question. I feel like not being afraid to ask questions and put yourself out there. This town, because it is, you know, tourism such an important part, and hospitality, people love to tell you like where to eat. You're like, oh, you're not from here? Let me tell you all these great things, right? Or, oh, you're not from here? Let me tell you where you got to go. And then next thing you know, you've got like a new friend that is willing to like go out of their way to make sure that you're taken care of. So I would say, don't be afraid to share your story and be out and put yourself out there. You know, hey, my name's Alyssa and I'm from James Island. I always feel like there's this connection. And while it's still, I guess, a mid-sized market at this time, the connections, it's crazy. You might know somebody that knows somebody.
It might be. My family is not too far. My dad's family is from the Low Country, the Elliots of Colleton County, South Carolina.
Okay.
Yes. So, you know,
what part of Colleton County?
Yamasee, Walterboro. I've spent Christmas there just this past year. So that very thing, as I see people, and I'm always looking. Is that somebody I know? Is that a cousin? You know, but just the familiarity of being here. So many of the foods and just the culture that's represented is, you know, tied to experiences with my own family. So I love that, you know, be open, but also Come and be in community.
Yeah.
And people have been recommending food, recommending places. There are some things from last year that I'm like, okay, I know they don't want to do a repeat, but if I could find that again. Elizabeth Gorman, ma'am, at Miss Rose's Fine Foods, and the peanut butter pop that I had, it's a year later, and I can still tell you this. The peanut butter pop that I had at the finale, I think I might go by that restaurant and see, is that something you sell, or can I get a special order? I'll pay. But just those things that kind of stick in your mind and then become things where people say, hey, I'm going to Charleston. And I'm like, oh, make sure you go here because, you know, you got to experience that food or that chef's, you know, profile while you were here and really, really liked it. So I love it. I'll finish us up with just one fun question.
Okay.
Where is somewhere I cannot leave here without going?
Oh. Have you been to Bowen's Island?
I have not been to Bowen's Island.
You got to go to Bowen's Island.
Okay.
Bowen's Island Restaurant. It's owned by the Barbers. It has a James Beard Award for an American icon. It's an iconic institution. I feel like that's such a special place for me. It's in the marshes and the rivers up behind the Folly River, which is where I grew up, like just being out there in the creeks, fishing and shrimping and oystering and all that kind of stuff. And that family very much brings out that way of life. It's almost like you go back a little bit in time when you go out there.
Okay.
It's a little bit slower. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a come as you are space. No frills. They don't, believe it or not, they don't even have air conditioning in the restaurant in Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
No air, no heat. It is like a seafood shack. Fantastic fried seafood. Really great family that owns and operates it. And I think it's just got that feel of like a multi-generational family.
Okay. Maybe that's where I'll put my seafood allergy to test.
You should do it.
Okay.
The fried shrimp. They also expanded their menu recently. They have shrimp and grits. Pretty fantastic.
Oh, I love shrimp and grits.
Frogmore stew. It's still March, so it's a month with an R, so you can still get wild oysters.
Okay.
That's a thing here for people.
Wild oysters.
So oysters that grow naturally in the beds of the creeks, so not farmed oysters.
Got it. Okay. Bowen's Island. Don't leave here without going. So I left some gaps in my schedule intentionally so that I had time to do things exactly like that. So I may make my way over to Bowen's Island. I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, this has been amazing. I'm such a fan of what you all have put together here. So I am looking forward, by the time this airs, I will have come and gone. But right now, as we sit and talk, this is just kicking off. And
Yes.
I cannot wait to get in the Charleston streets for this next few days and enjoy all the city has to offer. I really appreciate you sitting down and taking the time to talk with me on, what is your hot week? We're at the beginning of everything. So thank you so much for the time. Tell people where they can find out more about the festival.
You can go online, charlestonwineandfood.com. We also have a fantastic social media presence. Our handle at CHS Wine and Food for Instagram. You can learn more about the festival, sign up to get alerts on events and tickets, and learn more about our education and philanthropic initiatives.
Love it. Well, if you want to get to know me a little bit more in between episodes, you can find me at kayinthebay.com or on Instagram at heykayinthebay. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And that has been first episode of the new season 6, on location from Charleston, South Carolina, of the As Told By podcast. I cannot wait to kick off the rest of the season with you all. Thank you again so much, Alyssa, for joining me today, and I'll see y'all on the next one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.